Thank you so much for joining once again. I would like to do an introduction into what the Growth Camp is all about, the goal, what we intend to achieve, and what the progression is really going to look like in the next 11 to 12 months. I think there is a huge gap. If you're a marketing professional, if you're new to this, there is a huge gap in marketing, right? I want to believe that over time, I've seen a lot of people who talk good about marketing, but very few people can implement it in real life, right? So I call this set of people like headline readers. And the fact that there has not been like a lot of concentration, especially in the operation ends of the tech industry or even the advertising end, right? When you think about tech, when you think about working in a tech company, for example, one of the first things that will probably come to your mind is, oh, you have to be a software engineer, right? You have to be a product designer, you have to be a backend developer, and all of those, right? However, marketing has or growth has a huge role to be able to play in all of this. For them to be able to build a product and for you to be able to take it to market, it is super important that you have effective hands who are handling those key areas, right? So right from your acquisition, maybe even from brand awareness to your acquisition, right? You are saying to activation, then to retention, revenue, and referral. There are individuals who are well built to be able to handle each and every one of this funnel. And it is my goal that the Growth Camp is able to, just teach, impact, and able to build long life marketers, long life growth marketers who are able to implement this in all of their day-to-day activities at work. One of the things we are going to be doing is bringing top speakers, people who have built products, people who have experience in each and every part of this funnel to be able to educate us, to be able to teach us, to be able to impact us on the key things that we need to do to be able to build a successful career, right? So it's going to be happening once every month, right? It's going to be happening once every month. At some point in the year, we're going to do a physical workshop in Lagos and another one in Abuja. I think those are the two key places we are going to be having this year. Over time, also, we are going to be having like a couple of like X spaces, Twitter spaces, right? Where we have conversations around growth, where people can come in, talk about the challenges that they are facing at work, and they are experts or they are individuals who are able to advise them. The biggest disservice we've done to ourselves, especially in the marketing space, is that we don't have a community, right? So you see people going for like Google Developers Community, but there is absolutely no growth community, or even if there is, there are just very few people and not a lot of people knows about them, right? So my goal is really to be able to aggregate this community, bring them together in a place where people can then learn. I would say the biggest difference between what you would learn here and probably every other seminar you've been to is really the real life practicality, right? People should be able to walk you through how to be able to solve this problem, not just tell you this is how to do it. They need to be able to show you how to do it. And it's my hope that from this first session we are having in January up until the last session we're going to have in December, we are being impacted, right? So once a month, I bring in speakers and we talk about a particular topic that we think, or a particular development within the growth marketing ecosystem that I think is super important for everyone to be able to learn from, right? So without further ado, I have our first guest here. One of the other things before I bring up the guest is we really want to build a community around it. So at some point, we'll be opening either a Slack channel or a Telegram channel where we can have like everybody together. It is also my hope in the future that it becomes so big that agencies, tech companies who need to recruit growth marketers or marketers would really come to this place to look for the best hand, because the best hands are being taught in this place, right? So just think of a community that is interested in you growing, interested in your career, interested in your personality, interested in you becoming the best of the best in marketing, right? And this is the place I really want everyone to be convenient. So at some point, again, we'll probably do a couple of Instagram live, or you can like send me personal questions of the challenges you're facing at work, and we can all discuss this together. The goal is nobody should be left behind. Everybody should, be able to work together in a group where everyone believes that it's going to be a community of people who is going to like listen to them or who can help them build their career or help them solve the problem they are facing at work. And for the first one, I'm super excited to bring this person because anytime I try to explain it, I'm like, I'm a Christian, so you know, when you start ministry, there's somebody who lays hands on you, right? And when you want to like open a church, you go and invite the person to say, I've grown to a point whereby I'm now having like a church. This is not a church, by the way. But I'm having like a community and I want you to come and bless it. Back then in 2015, when I started out my career in marketing back in Lagos, I attended a training session called Vibe Web Solution, right? And when I got there, I met this guy. He was always chatting data, marketing, and I never knew there are people who can be so much in love with marketing like this guy, right? And when I thought about starting this, I said it was going to be the first guy I'm going to invite, right? Oba, I've known him for, I mean, since then up until now, 8, 9, 10 years. We've been close friends, and this is really an opportunity for everyone to be able to learn from him, right? He's a go-to guy when it comes to marketing. He was the head of growth at G.R.O.W.S. He has done a couple of things in the Africa tech ecosystem. He's currently an advisor to a couple of startups, and I think he also like advises like Money Africa around their marketing, their growth, and the rest. So it's a privilege, it's an honor to be able to bring this guy with his wealth of experience to be able to help us navigate what is growth marketing and what are the frameworks to be able to, you know, succeed in growth marketing. Before we start, we will do a poll. It's not going to be more than, it's just 3 questions. I would really like us to be able to participate in this poll. That would give us an idea on how fast it should go or how slow it should go in terms of tempo of him walking us through this class. So try as much as possible to participate in the poll. I'm going to be launching the poll now. So we're going to do this for 1 minute. Yeah, we're going to do this for 1 minute. And yeah, then I bring up Oba. Please confirm if you can see the poll. I mean, you can just use an emoji to confirm.
Yeah, I can see the poll, but it's showing post masterclass video. I think it's not for free.
Oh, no, sorry.
I can actually see, but this is for post masterclass.
Yeah, that's not bad. This should be competence test, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that, yeah. So this is it now. Thanks, Emmanuel. Let's get him on numbers. This is just 6 of 20. Okay, now we have 7 of 20. If you're just joining, this is just a poll to be able to test our competency level. This would really give the speaker an idea on how fast it should go in terms of teaching some of these key topics. So we have 10 of 20. So we're expecting, okay, 12 of 20 now. So if you're just joining, like I said earlier, this is a test of competency, right? We have 13 people. Can we have like more people joining, please? Let's have more people take the poll and we can just dive straight into it. $14 of 20. One more person, please, and I think we're good. One more person. We're good. 15. I can be selfish to ask for one more though. Okay, thank you so much. So I would end the poll now. All right. Let me just share the results. I hope this gives you like an idea of the people. So there are no experts in the hall. We have beginners and intermediates. But more beginners, 53 to 47. Just 4 of these 20 people have used the G.R.O.W.S model, and just 7 have used the AARR framework. So I believe that gives you an idea of how you should go in terms of your teaching. All right. So
okay.
Yeah. So are you ready for us?
Yeah, ready. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'll try to be slow. I could talk very fast. So I'm gonna try to be slow.
I'm going to, yeah, so you can have access to be able to share now. So you can go ahead and share.
Good afternoon. My aunt is raised. Can I say something? Or can
Oh,
I
yes,
ask
please.
Okay. Okay, so I believe this session is for individuals, right?
Please come.
And I said I want to believe this session is for individuals.
Yeah.
I'm launching my business next.
Okay.
How would I put it? Ahead for all of these things. So I thought it was something that you could do for businesses. That's what I'm just asking. Because really, all this growth, SEO, digital marketing, I know my talk. That's what I'm asking. And well done, Damilola.
All right, thank you. So the goal of the Growth Camp really is support for businesses and for individuals, right? So for businesses who cannot afford to hire a marketing agency, whether you are a small business or a large business, sales is one of the most important things, right? And you need to be able to equip yourself to be able to do this. No matter the small knowledge in which you're going to gain from this class, it is super important that you have an idea of how to grow your business, right? And that is the reason why this is. So the first one might really be titled to guys who are already doing marketing. But trust me, at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a lot of things that you can learn as an individual from this. So you can just sit back, watch, and see what we have to do. But trust me, I believe it's going to be impactful for you, even as a business owner. All right, Oba, the floor is yours.
All right, guys. So it's a great honor to be here again. Dami, thanks for having me as the first person to do this. So this is very risky in the sense that it has not been done before. This is the first session, so you don't know how the other sessions have been like being the first. So this is like a pioneering session, so to say. So we have our topic laid out for us. Well, my name is Obaoluwa Adeagbo again. I'll introduce myself shortly. And just talking about growth today, the daily practices and untapped strategies in growth marketing, right? So I have a fair idea of the expert level of people that are here. So I think we just jump right into it. Oh, it's like you logged me out of sharing.
Oh, just a minute, please.
You disabled the screen sharing.
Oh, no.
All right, think I can do it again now.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, can we all hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I will need to move fast because I have quite a number of slides here. I kind of prepare question and answers. There's going to be one didactic exercise that we're going to do just because I want us to have an idea of how this is practiced, and I've used this at least maybe for the last 5 years. So let me just jump right into it. So let me minimize this. I'm trying to find a way to minimize this something here. I mean, there's one icon here that I'm trying to minimize. How do I minimize this thing?
What would you like to minimize? The presentation?
It's on my screen and okay, I think I'll just manage. All right. So I've been doing growth now for close to about 10 years, and I've had the opportunity to work, first of all, where Dami was talking about, which was G.R.O.W.S Solution. It's now currently called Digital Marketing Skills Institute. I had the opportunity of working with Tobi Ashenide. I don't know how many of us know him, but I was working with him very closely in training quite a number of people that are starting out in digital marketing. And so it was also an agency, so we had the opportunity to work for some other people. Sorry, I'm getting a notification. All right, so we had the opportunity to work on some businesses, International Health Management Organization, Consolidated Almac Insurance, Aptech, the popular Aptech, and I had the opportunity to work on that. I worked in another agency called Space, and I had the opportunity to work with guys like AXA Mansard. I was doing some work for them in digital marketing. I had the opportunity to also work with places like G.R.O.W.S, Johnson and Johnson's, quite a number, right? And then startup, well, we have RiceVest, we have Heartbeat, we have CashX, we have Money Africa Ladder, currently doing some work for Talstack too at the moment as an advisor, same with Money Africa. So, well, just been here and there trying to help to achieve growth for companies. At RiceVest, I knew when I joined, I didn't join RiceVest when they had 2 users, so they already had some users, about 100,000 users, and we were able to, more than double that, leading the growth to about 250,000 users. The AUM was about 10 million US dollars, and we're able to do more than double that, 25 million US dollars. At CashX, we deal with cards, all these dollar cards, and we're able to push from about 100,000 US dollars to $3 million in transactions. The number just goes on and on like that. So that's just the short thing about me. I've had the opportunity to also train some CEOs, where I think that was last year around May or so, where I mentored some of the CEOs that you may know in growth. So that's a bit about me anyways. So let's just move ahead. So I know the father of growth marketing. It was popularly called growth hacking then, and it was Sean Hellis. So this whole growth thing started as, being popular from year 2010. Not so long, right? So it's just a 13-year, 14-year buzzword and all that. And primarily it was used by startups because most brick and mortar businesses weren't using the word growth. So either you are talking about sales or you're just talking about marketing, But why growth? Growth because they needed somebody who will understand a bit of maybe coding, a bit of UI, UX, who could just do a bit of data analysis and understand how all those things work together. How do we engineer growth? How do we even work with engineering and products to cause growth, right? Hence why growth today is very cross-functional. But back then, growth was usually about how speedy you can acquire customers. So even the word growth hacking was particularly around that time was used for how quickly can startups acquire people. So that's why you have examples of Airbnb, Dropbox, Uber, Hotmail. I remember Airbnb, when Airbnb started, Craigslist was something like Gigi in the US, which was like a free listing site. And because that was where people were going to search for something, they could easily just generate like a code or like a link in people's emails. That means those are the people that want to offer their homes for people to come and stay. So once you list the home, they're able to automatically generate like this thing here, click here to repost, and then somebody clicks. Once they click, it takes you to your Craigslist. And that was how they grew initially. That's not how they are maintaining their growth today. So imagine they didn't have to spend money on advert and do all that. That was just the way the growth came in. So it was about how can we spend almost nothing? How can we spend so less to acquire a lot of growth, right? So you had examples of Dropbox. Today, we have a lot of things called referrals, but it wasn't popular. Dropbox popularized something like that, where you can get up to 16 gig of free space just by inviting your friends, right? So it's more like you are buying more space by inviting your friend. Your friend gets some amount of space to save items, right, in the cloud. So we had Uber too did something like that. If you notice one common thread about all these examples that I'm showing you, you will notice that they revolve around acquisition, right? And that is why at some point, some guys were like, they don't like hearing the word growth hacking. So a lot of people don't even use the word again. And then there was an evolving into what you now call growth marketing, because growth marketing will then be a full funnel optimization. What I mean by full funnel optimization, you get to know that along the way. Hotmail did something like that too. Hotmail was even more popular than Gmail, right? How do they get more people to sign up using Hotmail? So basically, at the end of every email, they just automatically insert this thing called "I love you," get your free email. Then another person will just click on the Hotmail and then get a free email instead of paying for an email platform back then. So you can see all these things were just revolving around what was it called, acquisition. And there was a lot of either engineering work or content work, right, in this thing. So the growth person was not the person here that was going to be running adverts, but rather how can you bring up ideas for us to acquire a lot of customers at almost no cost, right? So, but the issue again with growth hacking was that over time, when people use it too much, that idea or that concept of you trying to, like all these things now, they become so, when you see anybody trying to tell you that, okay, if you join this thing, you also get this thing, how do you feel? But back then, it made a lot of sense, and a lot of people wanted to join such things. Nowadays, you have to do a little bit of work in doing affiliate marketing, in doing referrals and all that. But that was how growth actually started. So I'm just giving us a little bit of historical context to that. And it's a bit different from digital marketing. Why? Because a digital marketer will focus basically on the very top part of the funnel, because your job was you are running adverts, you are doing SEO, search engine optimization. How can you optimize your blog or your page? And then people come to your website, and then you have visits that you can then eventually convert into leads. I know for some digital marketing classes and all that nowadays, they don't just focus on that. They want to talk about C.R.O., that's like your conversion rate optimization. How can you convert the visitors that are coming to your website into maybe leads and eventually sign up? So growth is now different because you must be like a T-shaped marketer, or what I call a data-driven marketer, and you must be very cross-functional, right? You may not know how to code, but you should understand coding. You may not know how to do UI UX, but you know what a good design is. You know how to talk their lingo, speak their lingo. You know how to do data analysis, even if you are not a data analyst or a data scientist, because growth is all about data-driven marketing, right? And one fundamental funnel that became popular, I forgot the person that even brought up this particular funnel. But if you check HubSpot funnel and other funnel, it wasn't something like this. This was popularized for startups. And initially, awareness was not even part of it, because we don't care about spending money. Growth didn't care about spending money on billboards and all those things. It was more like, hey, har. Then someone else added the extra A at the top. So the idea of growth marketing is then what? The idea of growth marketing is actually, how can you increase conversion from one level to the other? Awareness talk about how many people do you want to reach. Let's just use this example. Acquisition, how many people do you want to visit your website? Or in some instances, how many signups do you want? Then you have activation. Activation is that first important step that you want your users to take once they've signed up. For example, at Rise.Vest, the activation for Rise.Vest then was when a user funds a plan, not when a user funds a wallet. I was speaking with Dami. Dami said that BitNob activation was when a user funds a wallet. But we at Rise.Vest, we took it a bit far and say, if you have not funded an investment, you are not yet activated, because that means you've not invested, right? And then from activation, you want to retain the customer, right? Then from retention, if you retain people for a long time and they keep doing what you want them to do and they keep coming back, then that's where your revenue is. And if you are satisfied, if the user is satisfied so much with your product, they are going to refer other people. So this looks something like this. It's a very fundamental thing when it comes to growth marketing. So growth marketing talks about everything. So really what you are doing in growth is to look at one step to another. That's all. That's the major thing around growth. One step to another. How do you optimize it? Because you can get a lot of sign up, and then you are not really having a lot of revenue. You see, this particular year, startups in Africa, they got very little funding compared to last year, and even much more littler than even the previous year. Why? Because everybody is looking at bottom line now. No longer vanity metrics like how many users are signing up, right? So maybe G.R.O.W.S got lucky to be able to raise that kind of fund. Nobody's raising that kind of money again, especially for fintech, right? So it's become like an investment beta because venture capitalists are looking for bottom line. What's the return on advance spend? What's the return? Are you getting, do you have a very high activation rate, things like that? Anyway, I need to move very quickly because this is not even what I want to talk about. Now, some people have argued that funnels are not the best way to describe growth and startups and how they grow, that it's more about loops because funnel tends to have like a one-way traffic kind of thing. And it means that you need to keep, you need to increase your effort at the top to be able to get returns at the bottom, right? But simply, the way I think about it is that why not curve the arrow? Because referral will lead to awareness. If people talk about your product, a good example, I know ChatGPT is a good product and necessarily it's revolutionary, so it's an outlier. But let me just use it as an example, right? Because if more people are talking about your stuff, then they become aware and then they get to sign up on ChatGPT, right? So that's still like a loop, which is what looks like this. An example of a loop looks like this. Basically, you have an input. That input leads to a particular action. That action is going to produce a particular output, and the output is going to lead to, let's say, more sign up. This is so you can have loops. So the idea about loops is that you can have a loop for activation. You can have a loop for what is it called, for revenue separately. So you can have activation loop, retention loops, and things like that. So an example of like an activation loop for SurveyMonkey is very simple. You have somebody who has been a user before, a new user comes to the platform, the person creates a survey, with SurveyMonkey, then that person sends out the survey to people. People take the survey. Then at the end of the survey, there will be like a thank you that says something like, do you want to also create a survey? Then somebody clicks on it, right? But it's not everybody that is going to click on it. So to me, it still looks like a funnel. I hope you are getting what I'm saying. Even though you are calling it a loop, but I'm like, oh, I sent something to 30 people and only 3 people or 4 people decided to create a survey. It's not everybody that is taking your survey that wants to create. So there's definitely also going to be a drop-off. But I get what people who are arguing about funnel and loops, I guess what they are trying to say. But usually you are losing some form of energy even within the loop, right? You also have the same thing for Pinterest, and you have that for a lot of other companies too. So most startups talk about creating like a loop. You have things like retention loop, where your push notification, for example, most organizations use it based on the action that you are taking, right? Let's say you've not been on the platform for 3 days, then they nudge you. That's a loop. So you click on it. That's what they call like a triggered loop, or sorry, a manufactured loop. Push notifications, you click on it, then it brings you back. That's kind of like a loop kind of thing, right? Also, but not for acquisition. That loop is most likely for what? Maybe for retention, so that you don't forget about the brand. Now, usually, people will look for that major growth arc back in those days. And I like what somebody said a magic growth hack that works for all does not exist. So rather than thinking about one major thing that you just do that will just make you blow as a business, it's better to think in terms of how you can structure so that you can perpetually keep growing, right? Hence the reason why people moved away from using the word growth hacking to the word growth marketing. Yeah. So in talking about what I want to talk about today, I'll just run through this because I guess that we already know about all these things. I'm just going to flip through it so that I can go into the major thing I want to talk about today, which is the G.R.O.W.S process. The G.R.O.W.S process solves the topic, how I do my work daily over the years and how you're actually helping the company to grow. But before you talk about that, I want to make an assumption that people already know about this, because you cannot be talking about G.R.O.W.S process when this has not been done. Your product market fit, your value proposition, you understand your personas, you have your use case map. Business model should even be the first, because you should know how you are going to make money anyways. Is it going to be a subscription-based model? You have pirate funnel, which we've talked about, OMTM, one metric that matters, North Star metric, and then your growth model. I'll run through it so I can go to the main thing. Your product market fits. In simplicity, you have your product, you have your market. It means that you are taking, that your product is meeting real market needs and it resonates with your target customers. So achieving product market fit is crucial for a sustainable growth and success. You can have a very nice a product that the market does not want. Where you want to be in this quadrant of the product market fit is the top right corner. The vertical side talks about the vision of your company or what you are offering, your product is offering. And then the horizontal part talks about the depth of customer engagement that you have. You know, when I came into to help with Money Africa, one of the first major things that I usually do when I get somewhere is you will talk to customers a lot. So do not think that it's only sales and customer success that will talk to people a lot. I talk to customers a lot. I'm not going to go into the details of some of the questions you can ask, but basically the most important question when you are asking any of your users and how to justify that the product fits their need is to ask that simple question. I mean, how disappointed will you be if you can no longer use this product? I don't know who gave the benchmark that 40% is the benchmark. In other words, if you speak to 10 people and 40 out of your users say that, wow, I will really be disappointed if I can't use this anymore, that means you have at least achieved product market fit, right? But that must be contextualized. What I mean by it being contextualized is that, you know, part of the survey or the questions you're asking the customers are, how did you hear about us? Was it from Twitter? Was it from Facebook? What are the other alternatives that you've used before in times past? You know why? Because it's the context of all the other questions that makes product market fit to make sense, not the 40%. 40% does not mean anything. For example, if you have a lot of people, let's say 70% of those 40%, they are coming from Facebook. That means most of your people are still using Facebook. Maybe that is the best market, because when you're talking about market, channels also comes into play, right? You can't talk about market without talking about the channels where that market is. And then you have the value proposition canvas. The value proposition canvas is basically where you have, you are trying to marry what does the customer want to gain and what is your own gain creator. What pain is the customer trying to solve? And what do you have as a pain reliever inside your own platform? What job does the customer want to do? The customer wants to send money from this to from this person to this person. Or the customer wants to recharge the car. That's the jobs to be done, right? And then what part of your product is actually solving that? So that's what we actually mean by value proposition canvas. And you want that to be very clear because it's going to help you also even for your product market fit canvas. Then for your user personas, you already know that is a fictitious character of your ideal customer or ideal target profile, right? Where you just look for one person and say, what's the demographic?
Please, there are a couple of other people that are trying to join. Can you please accept them? Because I made you the host and for screen sharing. So you can just go to please.
Okay. Okay,
just admit them.
Okay.
So you can look out for that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, have I added them? I think so.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So just be on constant look for that so that you can admit more people.
Okay, okay. All right. So you then have the user personas and so how do you arrive at your user personas? You're talking about interviews, surveys, or if you already have some customer data or you do like a general market research here, then you have the use case map. The use case map is a bit different from value proposition canvas because the use case map is helping you to differentiate the different reasons why people are coming to your platform and who they are. So for example, you have SurveyMonkey. You are trying to look at, people use SurveyMonkey for different things. So you want to know the different use cases. What's the problem that this person is trying to solve with our product? Your product can be solving 5 different problems, and that's why the use case map is very important. What are the other alternatives? Why is the person going to choose you? What's the usage frequency? And then what's the consideration time for the person to sign up or for the person to make a payment, right? And then you have your business model canvas, right? And then you have the pirate funnel, which we've talked about before. And then let me just quickly move to the one metric that matters. That one metric that matters is usually that metric that matters right now. It's different from the North Star metric. That one metric that matters can be, I'll give an example. You are having a lot of customers but your activation rate is low. Activation rate will be number of users that have reached maybe the aha moment or have done that particular event in your business divided by the number of signups that you do have. So your activation rate, let's say you have 100 users that have signed up, and then you have only 10 of them that are funded, let's say for BitNug now, that have funded their wallet. What will that be? That will be 10 over 100. So that means you have a 10% activation rate. In other words, that's if you feel like that activation rate is too small, what you want to focus on the most in that business at that point in time will be to increase the activation rate, not to get more users. That is what one metric that matters means, right? The North Star metric, on the other hand, we will be constant almost for life, or at least for years, because it represents your strategic growth metric, right? That's what actually is delivering value to the customers and also delivering value to you, right? So the North Star metric, if you want to place them and the OMTM together, North Star is long term. One metric that matters is just immediate, something you need to do right now. North Star is forever, right? OMCM is just a particular time frame. North Star is the entire company, and for OMTM, it might just be a particular team that is focusing on that. So an example of like a North Star metric for some companies would be, what's the most important thing that Facebook must keep working on that is like the most important thing to them? That would be monthly active users. You know why? Facebook run adverts and they make money by running adverts. If the number of active users reduce, what are they going to tell the advertisers? If they have 500 million, what's it called, active users daily, for example, and it drops to 100 million active users, that means Facebook is no longer valuable like another platform that maybe has increased in monthly active users. And then you have some other ones also. Then you also have what we call the growth model. I want to encourage you to read about the growth model. Reforge has some blogs about that, right? Which is rotating around three things: acquisition, retention, and monetization. So now let me go to G.R.O.W.S. Sorry, I had to move that quickly, right? So I can go to the main thing for the day. Now, the G.R.O.W.S process is something that was formulated by the Growth Tribe, I think in Netherlands. And when I discovered it, it actually gave me a framework of knowing how I can help businesses to grow and what I'm doing on a daily basis, right? It was formed by these guys. So growth actually means, even though it has the word grow with S, it actually means the G there is to gather ideas. The R is to rank ideas. Sorry, let me admit these people. All right. Let's admit someone else here. Okay. So the O is to outline the experiments. The W is the walk. The S is the studying of the data. I use these every week to kind of develop how the growth process is for organization. And we have an Excel sheet. I'm going to share the Excel sheet so that you can use it within your organization to grow the business. So it's like a cycle, right? It's like a cycle. And I think it's very, very, very key for your weekly goals and for your weekly growth of your organization. So, like I said, the G is where you have where you are going to gather your ideas. So how do you gather ideas? Now, I don't want this to be in silo. I want you to think about it in terms of the one metric that matters. So let's focus on one metric that matters for a business. What is the most important thing for a business right now? You might be doing a lot of things as a growth person. Oh, they told you to call this person. Oh, you are doing this stuff. Oh, you are running adverts on Facebook. Oh, yeah, maybe you're also doing SEO, or you have a team, right? You have somebody that is doing SEO. You have somebody that is doing this. But everything cannot matter on the same level at the same time. So if you are going to come together with your growth team, or maybe you're a business owner and you're like, what's the most important thing that we should be doing now within the next 2 to 3 weeks? This framework is going to help you to actually now move forward. So usually people just think about random ideas when they have like an issue in their business and like, okay, let's brainstorm ideas. No, you have to have like a process to it. Even though I'm starting with G, but I feel like S is the most important thing, even though it's the last. Why do I say S is the most important thing? Because your ideas are as good as the data that you've gathered, right? If you have bad data, you won't be able to, if you don't have the right set of information inside your data, you won't be able to generate good ideas. I'll give you an example of why I say that is so. Let's keep using activation rate, for example. We are getting a lot of customers, but we have product market fit. So if we think we have product market fit and people are saying they love our product, why is activation rate low? Because product market fit means that your product is serving the right market. Let's even say you score 70%. Can you have a dichotomy between product market fit and activation rate? Yes. Because many people might think that, oh, if I'm saying I've achieved product market fit, that means 7 out of everybody that's on my platform says they will feel very bad if they can no longer use the product. Yet I am having a low activation rate. Is that possible? Yes. Now that's where that's why I said that studying the data is even more important before you gather the ideas, right? So for example, let's say it's not an application. Let's say it's a website or a web app. Do you have the tools that is helping you to see how users are behaving on the platform? An example of tools like that, and I'll show us later, is a tool like Hotjar. What's going on? Is it that a button is placed in the wrong place? Is it that one of the elements of where maybe people need to add to their wallet? Is there a rage tap? The rage tap is when somebody is trying to tap something. How many of you have tried to tap on a particular button before and it didn't lead you anywhere, right? Is it that the website is slow? What's really going on? Is it that the website copy itself is not convincing? Where the activation is now, because you've already acquired these people. Is there nothing nudging them? So what's the issue? So you want to study that data first, right? And so when you are thinking about gathering ideas, I believe you have to start with data. So before you start with data, you want to do, I like what these guys, what they've said about doing, I call it Research Excel. I follow these guys. They are called CXL, and they have like a basic thing you need to do for your website before you even start applying the G.R.O.W.S framework, right? Which is what they call the Research Excel. It's a very robust thing that you do, right? You do your heuristic analysis. Heuristic is usually the most basic part of your analysis, right? You are checking your mouse tracking analysis across different, let's say it's a web app on mobile, on web. Is it faster on Chrome? Is it slow on Chrome? Where can you find that? Google Analytics can make you to see all that, because under Google Analytics, you'll be able to see different conversion rates across different platforms. So when I mean platforms, I mean the kind of device or the kind of browser. You can see that. You can see that even across different geographical locations, right? So why do I say that is important? Because if your activation rate is then very low, let's say you're a global brand and your activation rate is just very low in some particular countries, that means something is wrong with that country. Is it that, number one, the internet speed in that country is very low? So you are bringing up assumptions, but you are bringing on those hypotheses because you have a data that you are trying to work with. Now, remember that I'm talking about growth, and yet I'm not talking about acquisition. So you can see the thing about growth marketing now, that I'm not talking about acquisition. I'm talking about how you can milk the most amount of value from the already existing users. If you are saying, oh, we acquire so number of customers, for example, while I started, I said we grew AUM from so to from 10 million to 25 billion US dollars, right? I won't be a growth marketer if that growth is not happening. And I just come and say, oh, we are just growing our number of users. But you have a lot of users who are not doing anything, right? So you have to know what you are doing across your loop or across your funnel. But you want to do the Research Excel because it just helps. Have you tested your copy? How do you know that it's very convincing, right? So you want to have some of those things before you gather your ideas. I talked about Hotjar before. Hotjar records the screen of users, and it puts, let me admit this person. Sorry. Hope people keep joining. Right. So Hotjar actually does that. Full Story does something like that too. I mean, you have a lot of people in the market. I think it was Advice that I use UXCam. UXCam is like Hotjar, but Hotjar for applications. So we literally can see when somebody signs in, when somebody clicks this place, we can see the rate tab. UXCam does that. It's a bit expensive though, and you have to pay for the entire year. So depending on the kind of organization you are working with, you can scroll up. It does things like heat maps. Where are people tapping the most? If we think that, for example, somebody is signing up, or somebody signs up on your page, let's say for Hotjar, for example, let me go back to Hotjar, and the most convincing part of your landing page is at the footer, there's a problem, or maybe you need to move it up, right? Let's say the conversion rate on that section, the last section, is about 70-something% for just that particular last section of the website. Maybe you need to move it up, right? And you can use Google Optimize to do things like that, where you are doing like your A/B split test. So we have a lot of stuff like that, like Smart Loop, user testing. User testing is a platform where you have users who will be talking as they are clicking through your website. Can they easily navigate your website, and then you make payments to do that. You also have Maze. You also have Winter. Winter does copy testing, right? Where some people across various markets, let's say, for example, Nigerians, they would test your copy to see whether it's going to help with more signups and all that. So we have quite a number of them. Are you using tools like maybe your co-schedule headline analyzer, right? I'm talking about things that you need to look at before you start gathering your ideas, right? So that you don't need to gather ideas when you've not done the preliminary work, right? Do you score up to 70% on headline analyzer? Headline analyzer is going to show you whether your title, let's say, for example, on your page, has power words. Power words are words that move people to action. Emotion words causes emotions, right? You have common words, you have uncommon words, right? And I use this quite a lot. It's basically used for search results, like you want to know how to. It's also used for your blog post. It's useful for your blog post, but you can also use it for landing pages, right? So you want to have that, and then you want to start with something like that. So how do you gather ideas? There's something that is called, rather than brainstorming together, what we usually do when I'm working with organization is like, no, don't come and brainstorm your ideas inside the room. Mindstorming is when you personally have brainstormed your ideas based on all the analytic tools that you have, maybe in your business, or maybe on all the other third-party data, and you've written it out by yourself. When you come together, you then present everything. So that's the difference between mindstorming and brainstorming. That means I was watching Peace Itimi together with Sean Ellis, right? And he mentioned something that stuck with me for quite a long time, that the quality of ideas that you are bringing to the table is going to be what's going to determine like growth in that organization. But you see, the quality of your ideas also depend on the quality of the data that you are bringing, so that you're not just using hunch feeling. So one metric that matters, remember, again, put it in mind for the purpose of this presentation, is activation rate. Have you checked everything related to why we have a low activation rate? Gather your ideas, and it must not be one person. You are the growth person, right? And you are the one that will rally around people from different teams. You must not rally around people just that are doing SEO. You must do it cross-functionally, because if you are talking about activation, some of the issues might be related to coding or product or UI UX. So you want them to also think about their own ideas and bring it to the table. So generating ideas is the first thing. Then the next thing is actually ranking your ideas, or prioritizing the ideas that you think is going to move the needle if we implement it. So we can have 50 ideas, but what are the top 3 ideas that we need to action right now that won't take our time, won't cost a lot of money, and we believe is going to create a large impact? And so we have a lot of tools that do that. So they're called prioritization framework, because you are prioritizing the ideas. You have the BRAS framework. The BRAS framework is basically for awareness and acquisition, really, because it's not really useful for the other parts of the funnel, right? And it means blink, relevance, availability, scalability, and then you have the score. The blink has to do with your gut feelings. Now, these things are semi-scientific. You know why I call it semi-scientific? Because everybody is bringing their own subjective bias into it and saying this is what I think, and then they are going to rank. They are going to rank this particular. They are going to rank the ideas based on how they feel. That's why we call it semi-scientific. Semi-scientific because there's a subjective part to it, but because people are putting a number to it, right, based on their expertise level and all that, then they are able to know what score they will get. So we have the BRAS framework, which is your gut feeling when you see the idea. What do you really think? Now, BRAS is for awareness and acquisition, right? And then how do you think this particular idea, how does it, when you talk about the product and the channel fit on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 means that it's very, the relevancy score is very high. I'm not talking about your relevancy score in adverts, right? Because you have relevancy score in adverts platform. Then gut feeling, I really feel like this idea is going to work. Then availability is, this thing should be easy to implement now, and it should cost less. That's availability. And then can it scale? So for example, if you are talking about something around SEO sometimes for some, SEO has limitations, right? And number one, do you want to say, okay, we want awareness, but should it be the first thing we should do right now? Because SEO might take time, 3 months, 6 months, you are not ranking. And even if you are ranking, what's the volume of keywords that people are searching about it? So it cannot scale beyond that. So that's a problem, right? So an idea of your industry also now matters when it comes to this. So the one that I use primarily, because I want to use something that is useful for every step of the pirate funnel. That's why I personally, I do not use the BRAS framework. I just use the PICE framework. I just use the PICE framework.
So for a beginner, which one would you advise? I mean, what's the most simplest of all? For anybody who is just trying out experimentation.
I think the PICE framework is simple. It's simple because the BRAS framework is even long. BRASS. So if you use the PICE framework, you are just looking at 3 elements basically. That's all. And what are the elements that and it's useful for everything. So rather than saying, oh, I'm going to use this for acquisition and awareness, oh, when I'm talking about activation, I'm going to use this one. I just use the PICE framework. The PICE framework, after you've gathered all the ideas, I'm going to show us something now. I'll get there shortly. The P there, when you are trying, all of you are trying to rank the idea. The P there is talking about the, which is very similar to the ICE framework, but I don't use the ICE framework. The P there is talking about the potential for impact. Damien, are you saying something?
No.
Okay, I was hearing like a glitch. So the P there talks about that potential that you think it's going to have for impact. And that's the reason why I believe that every group person, you should know something about every department. So anytime I'm talking to a UI UX person, you can't bamboozle me because I understand how it works. Read about it. Read about coding. Read about product. You know why? Because if you are within a growth team, how will you say something is easy to implement when you are not an engineer? You have to know, you have to have a sense of how complex something will be to implement. Because when you are doing growth, since it's cross-functional, you might not be the one to implement it. Because the issue you might have with activation might not be to change a copy. It might be that there's a bug that needs to be fixed, and you're not the one that's going to fix the bug. So you need to know different kind of bug species that are available. So that's why I said a growth marketer is a data-driven T-shaped marketer. You know something about everything so that it can impact your work. So you can explain to other people that will rank the ideas what it means. So when you're talking to a UI UX person, you're able to explain to the person, and then you can see from the person's perspective also. So the P here in the PICE framework is the potential. How big is an uplift that we think that this change? How big do we think this is going to be? The importance that you are also putting to it, or some people even still call it impact. And then you have the E's include the cost. When I go to the Excel sheet, it will become simpler. The E actually also talks about how quickly can we implement this? Is it going to take 6 months to implement? So does it mean that we are going to wait for 6 months to actually be able to do this, right? So it looks something like this. So you see, after people have ranked, let's say this is one person's ranking, and then some people do from 1 to 5, and then from 1 to 10. So you have a whole lot of prioritization frameworks. These frameworks are called prioritization frameworks. How do we prioritize the ideas to grow any part of the funnel, right? You can't use everything. Each of it has their own pros and cons, right? Has their own benefits and, and disadvantages also. So, but I use the PIES framework, right? I like what Andrew Chen said. He said something. He said creativity combined with rapid iterations are the key to making progress on user growth. Remember that you can get 10x growth by combination of 2xing a few different metrics, eating one out of the park or getting 10% increase across the board. They all multiply together to be 10x. So if you can brainstorm a lot of ideas, going for quantity over quality, you have a lot of ideas to evaluate for impact versus cost. So ideas are like, they are like seeds when it comes to that. They're like kind of seeds that are very, very, very important here. Okay. Let me just finish it. Then I'll go to the place where I'll just need to move fast now. Then you outline on that same sheet. We've talked about the ideas. You outline those ideas on the sheets. Everybody puts their idea on the sheet. You go around, you ask. One thing I usually do is that sometimes I just create like a Google form and send it to people that, what do you think? We are facing this. You don't need a lot of people within the organization. You just need maybe 4, maximum of 5 key decision makers. Maybe your CEO, whoever, maybe the engineer, if it's related to something like that. And then you say, then what do you think we can do to increase this? What do you think we can do to increase this? So that's what you are basically doing. So as a growth person, that means you have to know how to communicate with everybody. I've never done growth and I will not speak to a designer. I've never done growth and I will not speak to a product person. You are doing a cross-functional work as a growth person. You are talking to sales. When I was at G.R.O.W.S, I was building the sales platform and all that as one that did the whole sales process. How do they onboard the B2B parts? Because at that time, you are not a sales guy, but you have to, since growth is what we are all about, you have to work with salespeople, right? So you are doing what I call, you are now outlining, which is the O. You outline everything. In other words, you document everything out on that Excel sheet there, right? And sorry, that's the ranking of ideas. Why am I mixing it up? The O is actually when you've ranked the ideas and you have an idea that is at the very, very top. Like everybody seems to be like, hey, this idea, we need to quickly try it. You now need to say, you need to now design or outline the experiments that you want to do. That's the O part, right? That's like planning your work. Let me put it that way. You are planning the work or planning the execution of what you want to do, which is the experiment, because you are experimenting. You are not too sure whether it's even going to work yet. You're not really sure. Well, maybe you can fix a bug and you may realize that it does not increase the activation rate. It doesn't mean, you may have seen bug fixes before and it does not impact, or maybe you are doing 10.01 and now when you fix the bug it's 10.02. That means fixing the bug did not move the percentage of the activation rate at all. So again, Growth Tribe got this from Strategizer, and we do something like this. Maybe I'll just share this. I'll just share this particular sheet and then the other prioritization sheets, those 2 sheets, and then people can use it as a template. So the experiment sheet looks something like this. We believe that if we do this, if we run an A/B experiment where A forces users to complete KYC before doing any other thing on the platform, right? That's like you're doing like A/B split test, and let's say users are coming to your platform. So you are saying something like, we believe that. Now you are outlining how you are going to do what you want to do. We believe that.
You want to pause a little and explain what A/B split test is.
Okay, so I'm going to get to that. Okay, so an A/B split test is typically when you are trying to test 2 versions of something, or you are trying to test 2 variations of the same thing. I'll give an example for acquisition. So if you may have something we call landing page. The landing page is the place where when a user comes from maybe search engine optimization, the search results, right? Or a user comes from an advert and they click visit website or something like that. A/B split test, what that does is that you have two versions of the same website, but something changed. Maybe the button, or maybe the topic, or maybe the hero image. The hero image is what you usually see at the very top. And then you want to know which one is going to drive which impact. We do like a do we put blue button, it's trigger people to actually sign up more than another word or different words creates different emotions. That's what A/B split testing is about. So we are now saying that I'm giving an example here. Let's say we are still talking about onboarding now, which is like talking about activation. That what we're going to do in our app, we are going to do like A version and B version. Instagram does that where they are testing something and they call it beta testers. They are testing some things maybe with people, and then you enter their beta, they're trying to see how it works and all that. Or Facebook does something like that. So it's not rolled out to everyone, right? In that sense. So if you have something like A/B split test, we are now saying, okay, what do we believe? We believe that X, Y, if we do this, we will do this. We believe that if we do this, we are doing it so that we will verify that this. Let me just read it out so that it's easy. If we run A/B experiments where let's page A or screen A for some people will see that. If you run an A/B experiment where A forces the users to complete KYC before doing any other thing on the platform. In other words, you must complete KYC before you can do any other thing on the platform, right? And B, being the existing UX for onboarding, like people just joining, they are not necessarily going to need to. But what I mean by KYC is we all know what KYC is. What they call, what's the full meaning again? What's the meaning of KYC again?
Know your customers.
Yeah, know your customer. Yeah. So basically, it would be some things like capturing your face, including your BVN, verifying your phone number, uploading a particular ID, maybe uploading voter's card or NIN, those are KYC. So A is saying because you want to increase activation rates, let's say you want to increase the activation rate. So you are now saying that, okay, for A, we are going to force users to complete KYC. If the user goes away as his onboarding, when he comes back to the platform again, he must complete that KYC before he can do anything on our platform. That's A. B is saying that, the existing UX for onboarding, that's the B. So you now believe that if you do A, you will have 60% more KYC completion in A compared to B. We don't know. It's a test. It's an experiment. Now, if we believe that if we do that, we will verify that what. So you describe your experiment. How would the experiment be? So you say dev and product team will work on with Amplitude, right? To create the A version of the onboarding. Amplitude is a mobile analytics platform, but they've been doing other things too. You can do A/B tests on the platform. You can use it to roll out beta, right? So it's an enterprise-grade platform. You have other platforms like Mixpanel and all that for people that are doing SaaS or basically for apps. It's for mobiles, right?
Yeah.
I've used Mixpanel. I've not used Amplitude before, but I've used Mixpanel. I do use Mixpanel. So you describe what the experiment will be like, and what will you measure? In other words, what will happen? What are the quantitative data that you see? Because anything you can't measure, how will you know that it has been done? You say KYC completion rate, you will measure what? Your KYC completion rate for the version A and version B. Yeah. So KYC completion rate equals to number of users that complete a KYC divided by the number of signers. Because users are forced to do only one thing per time, and they are not distracted by other features, thereby dropping off. That's what you are trying to, that's the hypothesis you brought forward, right? That was the idea that everybody, ranked so high. Now, how do you know that what you are saying is right? We are right. You go back to the beginning. We are right. If there's a 60% lift for version A, did we actually have a 60% lift for version A compared to version B? That means we should just stick to version A because 60% uplift is a lot, right? So this is how you outline your experiment. You know why? Because 5 years down the line, 5 months down the line, you want to document what you are doing so that you can go into your archive, go into wherever you are putting this thing. Maybe you create a folder inside Google Drive and you call it experiment sheet. You can even label the experiment number. And what's the experiment about? Oh, this one is related to acquisition. You can study your data of what you have done in the company over time, right? And then you have in this other portion, you have your results. And then you say, okay, these are the next steps that we are going to take. If it doesn't go that way, was there something wrong that we did? Didn't we get something wrong in the experiment? It doesn't mean the experiment has failed. Let's say you don't reach 60%. You may want to even study what you think went wrong while you are running the experiment, and then you want to move to and say, okay, let's redo it, but this time around, let's do this, or let's do this, or let's do that. Right? So an experiment sheet or an experiment doc should outline the following: the objective you are serving, your hypothesis, your start and end dates, the metrics you'll be using, the pages that will be affected, who you are targeting. Well, that's if it's acquisition. What the variations would look like, your analysis and conclusion, or the next step, just like we've seen, right? So, which is why program says and say, when you hear somebody talking about growth hacks, people don't even use that verbiage again nowadays. They say just mentally translate that whatever they are saying is bullshit. Rather, run experiments, right? So what people call growth hack, if there's anything like that at all, is usually when you run through as many experiments as possible until you find something that's beautiful, that is working perfectly. We call it the golden nugget, we call it the silver bullet. It's that beautiful moment when you found something that perfectly fits. Because see, if your activation rate actually grows by 60%, that's a lot. That's going to impact whatever, like that means a lot of people will be completing KYC, right? So that's the W part is where the work is actually done. I really don't have so much to say around this other than to work. So you are looking for how do I work with speed? How do I work very quickly, right? How do I work very quickly? Now I think I need to make a differentiation between what people call, oh, we are testing this, or we are talking about experimentation. The experimentation is not the same thing as A/B testing. In A/B testing, you have two versions, but you can call something experimentation and you don't have a B version. In other words, it may just be a case of, let's just do this thing and see whether there is an uplift compared to the previous version. The reason for A/B testing is to be, well, in some cases, be a little bit certain. There's some things that you want to optimize for that you cannot really call like an experiment test, let me put it that way, or like a testing, because you can't test it. You just have to do it. So you have things like that in growth that you can't have two versions. You can have two versions of a screen in your app, right? Where some people are in beta or something. You can have two versions of a landing page. So, but I mean, how do you do things that will not have two versions or three versions? How do you do that? But you will say you are experimenting because you wanted to tweak something. So you must separate what you think experimentation is or A/B testing is, right? That's why I say you can run an experiment without running a test, right? A test will always have a control and a variation. It's like a scientist, right? So we need to differentiate between that. So there's something called the ROA model, right? So if, for example, you want to do what we call, you are trying to acquire customers, the kind of impact that you are looking for, depending on number of conversions you are looking that you are having, it matters. Let me give an example here based on this graph. If what you are having per month is 10,000 conversions per month, that means people come to your website and you're not having even up to 10,000 conversions per month, or the budget you want to run adverts and you're not having up to 10,000 conversions per month. And when you're looking for a sign up, please don't run an A/B test, because you will not have enough data to justify that one version is better than the other. Don't run an A/B test. There's no point. There's no point to run an A/B test. You don't have up to 1,000 conversions. Leave it alone, right? I mean, if you don't have up to that, but if you do have up to that, then what you are looking for is that for you to say that version A is better than version B, you are looking for a minimum of 15% impact. Not all those 2%, 1% thing. Guess what? If you try that experiment again, you know you might not get the same results. So, but if you have a company that has a lot of conversions per month, because now they have a lot of conversions that has been diluted, right? I mean, they have a lot of users. You don't need that much impact or difference for us to know that version A works better than version B. So you just need like a 5% impact. So that's very important. I use this particular, what's it called now? I use this particular to check, what's it called? To kind of test what kind of power that is needed, because there's something called the pi values. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about A/B split test today because there's a scientific way to do it. But if you check this particular list, I think maybe that means we'll get this across to us later, so we can have access to this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So basically, experimentation is how Amazon grew, right? Jeff Bezos said something, and this has become a popular statement. Our success at Amazon is a function of how many experiments we do per year, per month, per week, per day. They are constantly running experiments, a lot. So they have a lot of growth guys that are constantly running experiments for them. And that's what their success has been. Their success has been around running these experiments, right? So the last part of the G.R.O.W.S framework, as I begin to try to round up, the last part is actually the most important part, which I talked about initially, is the what? Is the S, which is to study your data. This is where you need a little bit of at least data analysis, right? You should know the data you are looking for, the metric, the KPI that you are looking for. So the S is where you now study your own data of your experiment. Now, what tends to happen is we look at the hard quantitative data of our experiments. We're just looking at, is it 15%? Is it 3%? And we are forgetting about the qualitative data, which is the part of the data that is not in numbers. Do you want to run a further survey for those people that were KYC'd, asking them, how come you completed your KYC so fast? And maybe the other people, why didn't they complete their KYC from the other set, the other guys? Or how easy was it for you to complete your KYC for the B version? Those things you are hearing from the mouths of the customers are now things that are the qualitative part, because the numbers is just the numbers. It does not tell you the why. The market must tell you the why. You don't know the why. So don't think, you don't even know why. But if you ask people and you survey them, just a fair size amount of people, you begin to notice a pattern. What is it that people are repeating when I call them or when I do a survey, that they are saying, oh, this is the reason why? In fact, the reason might lead you to another experiment. Remember, the S fits into what? Gathering of ideas. So when you speak to the customers, you are now able to know why that happened, and it may open you into more plethora of hypotheses or information that you can use to then gather another, even increase it further, increase it to 80% if possible, right? 80% lift, right? So your studying of your data is very, very, very important, depending on whatever data tool you are using, whether you are using Mixpanel, whether you are using Google Analytics, whatever data tool you are trying to use to check the experiment that you've already run. So, some questions you might want to ask also is, even around the experiment, is how did you execute the experiment properly? If your hypothesis was incorrect, why? Was your hypothesis even correct? Would the result be different if you segmented the data? Like, I am serving Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria, and I'm doing an A/B test. Okay, what if I segment it to Uganda, Kenya, Nigeria? Will it be different? That's very important. Will it be different? If your hypothesis was correct, why do you think your hypothesis was correct? What can you take away from the experiment to run a smarter future experiments, right? Please, just 1 minute, hold on. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's back.
Yeah.
We can start gathering our questions and maybe dropping it on the chat if anyone has like any questions, so that once you wrap up.
Yeah, I'm even done. I just have 2 more slides, basically. So basically, that's the G.R.O.W.S process that's being used. I said I was going to show you a link. So where is that? So basically, that's the end of my presentation, but let me show you the link. You can type your questions while I go to the ranking of ideas the experiment sheet. Let me go there. I mean, raise your hand.
Oh no. I mean, for anyone, if they have like a question, they can unmute and speak, or they can just type in their question. I think that would be a good place to start. I mean, this is such a great presentation, because one of the biggest challenges we've always had is you run loads of experiments and you don't see success. How do you navigate that entire process, right? Over time, you have like this brilliant idea, and you think it's that one idea that is going to move the needle. Like, guy, if we are able to get this idea right, we're going to move from 1 to like a 90. Then you do the experiment, they are like, only 40 people are taking action. Like, what exactly is wrong? So have you ever faced those kind of challenges, and what are the things that you did?
Yes, man. You are not the market. I always say it. The user will be the one to even tell you how your business will be successful. You can't tell your business how it's successful. See, we miss out a lot of information for users. I think if there's any major thing I've done a lot is to talk to customers a lot. I talk to customers a lot, to the extent that some people will say, are you a customer care person? I say, I'm not a customer care person. I need to know my users deeply. Remember where we talk about the quadrant of the product market fit?
Yeah.
You can't, the major part I think we are usually missing out is the qualitative data. Not the quantitative is so easy to see. If it's a mixed panel, you just see it's right there. If you are building a funnel inside Google Analytics 4, you see it's there. Fine, it's good to know how to navigate. Maybe put some other things like because there are some advanced things you can build in reports and all that, but it's not about building all those fancy things. It's more about knowing the why, right? It's more about knowing the why. If I follow through the process of, let's say, an experiment, I don't say that the experiment has failed. I have just found one more thing that will not work. If it failed, I ask people the question, why did it fail? Which assumptions did we use to think that it is going to work? And why did the assumption did not work? I think we should ask more questions than we think we have answers ready. So I ask more questions than I quickly try to jump to answers. I ask more questions. Question everything. In fact, I use a particular problem-solving method that I call the 5 whys. I don't know how many of you know 5 whys. Why exactly? Ask why 5 times. It was my former boss, AK, at Rice-Based, that said that. Ask why the 5 times until you ask 5 whys. Why was it successful? It was successful because people will not be distracted when they are filling their KYC. Why won't people be distracted when they are filling their KYC? It's because of so. Why? So you ask to the very, very granular detail. I think it's McKinsey that developed that 5 why, and they've always used it for organizations and all that. So I think that framework of asking the why, because there's this thing called the Fox model, and I don't know how many of us knows it. You want an action, which is a behavior. But in your behavior, for you to have a behavior, I always say, I like Toby, we always say, the one of the major things around moving that behavior to me is the motivation. If people have a very huge motivation and the trigger is low, right? And maybe the action that they are going to take maybe is low or something. The most important part is the motivation. So I want to know the motivations behind why people are doing or why people are not doing the things that they are doing. There was a time, and let me share experience so that I'm not just speaking theory. There was a time we wanted to move activation rates at Rice-Based because it was pretty low. We did something like this where we came together. By the way, this is what I use for PICE framework, right? Yeah. Where you have the idea owner, you describe the idea. If there are other tools, you put it here. So you have probability, right? Probability is the P. Do you think this thing is going to succeed on a scale of 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 5? Do you think that the impact is going to be big or small? How easy do you think this is going to be tested? And then I've already done the calculation here in this place where you multiply everything. Everybody votes in this place, as you can see. I think this was something I did for, I removed a lot of data, but this was something I did at CashX, where I have Oba. For me, I think that this idea, the probability for it to succeed is not that high, right? Do I think the impact is going to be high? Do I think this is going to be high? All the P's in this particular place, the P of this person, the P of this person, the P of this person, everything will be aggregated on this particular place, right? All the I will be aggregated on this particular place. All the E will be aggregated here, and then we'll see the score. Then we look at all the score when we scroll down to say, wait a minute, which one scored the highest? Because the one that scored the highest, that means most of us that are voting on it believe that it has a higher chance to succeed. We believe that the impact is going to be big, and we believe that it's one of the very quickest ideas that we can test. Hence why it will be maybe at the top. It doesn't mean, when I say at the top, it might not be this one, it might be another one that is down somewhere. And then we say, you know what? We all believe that this will make a lot of sense and all that. So let's go try it out, and then we try it out. So, but I will share this. I've already included the formula, so you may not need to do the averages again. So once it is shared, that is how you begin to pull the ideas together. So I'm always constantly asking about the why. Why? Someone is trying to enter the room. Okay, so I was sharing experience at, what's it called now? At G.R.O.W.S, where we wanted to, it was not even an activation, we ran a lot of experiments. It was more around, what was it again? Was a revenue drive, not activation. I mean, these were guys that were already activated. They've completed KYC, but they were not constantly funding, right? So when you notice a pattern, for example, where somebody has a maturity date, maybe the person saying wants to save for 6 months, or invest for 6 months, or invest for 12 months. Once the days start coming to an end, we are likely not to get money from the customer again. You understand what I mean? I've been saving $100 every month, and then it's already maturity. Of course, I want to carry my money. Is that not what we sold to them?
Yeah.
But the thing is that we want them to keep investing. So how do we do that? Because some people say, no, just keep getting more customers. But that does not make any sense. You know, if it was a SaaS business where the SaaS business is actually just subscription, is easy because people just add their card. But this one is a bit different because, I mean, how do you tell people to not take their money away or something like that? So we ran a lot of experiments around it where we will pick different customers and we randomize them. So we say all the customers that their maturity is going to be the last week in February, what can we start doing about them now? And we really do experiment. How do we do that kind of experiment? Number one, we even separate the audiences. So if we have like 200 customers that their maturity is going to be by the end of February, we have 100 and then we have 100, right?
We have test and control.
Yes, test and control. So we just leave one aside and say, don't do anything about this guy. Just leave them alone. Let them take their money. We wanted to know whether he was going to move anything, right? And then you have the other 100, like we're going to do something about it. We are going to nudge them. We are going to send push notifications. We are going to send them emails that it's about to end and all that. You know, so we did that. I rather nothing happened though. It's the same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, common consumer psychology is I'm saving for a purpose, right? And if I'm saving for a purpose, it's just due date, I want to take away my money.
Yeah, so it's more like we now send educational things to them to nudge them that you know that investment, it must be long term. So you're trying to educate, right? 1 month ahead of time to nudge them that no, investment is not that just about you must think long term when you are investing, you know. So we did that. Nothing moved the needle. Now we did not add SMS to the mix. We now said, you know what? We looked at the open rates or the click rate of the push notifications, the open rate of the emails that we were sending. Is it that this thing is entering into the promotion tabs of people? Or is it that some people have turned off notifications or people are tired of notifications? Maybe people just don't, you know, open their notification again. So we now said, you know what? there's a report out there or analysis that says that SMS has 99% open rate or 98% open rate. So I said, okay, you know what? Let's do another one this time around. Let's try to send SMS to people. Perhaps people can miss SMS if they miss their email. It still did not work. So that's why I'm saying that it's not a failure. I think one of the things about a growth person is that you must be ready to fail and fail fast and fail forward, right? To know, to tell yourself that if something did not work, it's not the end of the world. You are questioning your assumption. The assumption behind SMS is that you can't miss it. So, and we had third-party data to back it up. We checked what Gartner has reported. We checked what we checked a lot of reports that say no, people actually opened this thing, and it still did not work. I'm sure somebody is like, so what worked? Tell us what worked. Tell us what actually worked, right? So we drilled more on our data because it's something you want to solve. So this is not this thing did not work. What will now work now? We drilled more on our data because one of the data collection you collect at G.R.O.W.S is which industry do people work in the most? So we say, okay, all these things that we are doing, if we segment our data, will it change anything, right? So when you are signing up on G.R.O.W.S, part of the information we are collecting from you, from the other information is which category of business you work. Are you working in oil and gas? Are you working in telecoms? Are you working as a government worker? Are you a private owner? We now realize that, you know what, let's separate out this thing. Later on, you now realize that people that have a stable salary job are able to continue to do the same things. That's one. We did the same thing, no, but by segmenting the data, we now realize that don't focus on some people again. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But if we didn't drill in the data like that, so you have to keep asking questions as much as possible. Only when you are not able to segment the data, you're like, okay, I see now. Because again, you know, for most companies, the Pareto principle comes into play. Would you rather be chasing, so rather than even at some point, when we did that and we keep iterating and iterating, you now discover that, you know what, when we did that and we segmented it and say, you know what, let us segment, let us check each of the different segments, and we see that some people have a higher propensity. Some people that are working in some particular industry, they have a higher chance, right?
Yeah.
One of it, because I don't want to give away all the data, one of the major category of people that had a higher likelihood of funding again were people that worked in finance. In other words, maybe they were financial analysts, they were accountants, or they were working in a banking sector. They just did it. So at that point, you now start focusing less on some particular people and focusing more on some particular people. The other thing we then did over time was to see, because, you know, we also have salary range of people, how much you are earning, whether you are a business person or you are not a business owner. So we don't waste our time, even if we wanted to call you, right? And so we now eventually had people that will call, people that will believe that there are high potentials that will bring on. So we don't waste our resources of calling somebody that will give us $10 or $20 every month. It's such a waste of time. So it's better to call somebody that has the higher chance. Fine, if they don't come back, then that's good. So it's a lot of iteration and iteration till we get to a point that, this is what works now. And when you focus on that very few people, let's say that 200 people again now, you pick another 200 people. You don't need to try to get all the 200 people. You just need 20% or 15% of those 200 people to be able to come back while you keep increasing your acquisition. So that's how we do it. It's a lot of iteration and it's a lot of question asking. So we usually have like a growth meeting where we come back to discuss. So you must have like a stand-up. We come back and say, no, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? And we come back and then we keep it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Oba. Thank you so much. This has been very insightful. Even as a professional, I think there are a couple of things I can pick from this. And I really want to believe everyone who is on this has learned a whole lot. I think there's a lot we can learn. I don't know if we have questions. You can just unmute and speak if you have like any questions. We can take like 2 questions. And this is going to be recorded. So this is going to be posted on my YouTube channel. Also, you can rewatch it. And if you have like any questions after this, you can reach out to me on my social media channel. You can ask your questions, then I'll be able to jump either on the call or just be able to walk you through some of these, some of the challenges that you're facing. Well, thank you so much for joining. So I don't know, any question? It would be great to get question from
Please
anyone.
ask me questions or
It would be great to get
ask
question
me
from anyone before we.
any questions related to growth, related to what I just said.
So, and if you can unmute, you can just type it. If you can unmute, you can type, and we can call it a day. While we're doing that, there's a survey I was supposed to take earlier, or poll I was supposed to do earlier that I think I did before time. Just a minute. Interesting. There's a survey. Okay, I think, okay. Taking learning. Any question before we round up?
I like questions, so eat me with questions, people. Questions related to what I shared or related to.
So there's a question from Anthony. Should growth marketing experiments be done before or after PMF?
It should be done after PMF, typically. Now, why I said that is, now, to be honest, let me also put a caveat to this PMF thing, because there are big companies that if they were to do the product market fit survey, they won't score 40%, and yet they are big, and yet they've not achieved product market fit. Telling you, they've not achieved product market fit, and yet they are big because, one, maybe they're able to expand that much because they had money to raise, and they raised millions of money and acquired a lot of people. But if they were to run that kind of survey, it may not, what you see in the survey will not be, they won't have up to 40%. So the ideal thing is achieve product market fit first. Achieve product market fit first. And when you achieve product market fit, except you are using the experiments to define product market fit. So I hope that answers the question. So either you've achieved your product market fit first. So prior to product market fit, you've done a lot of all those things we talked about, like your value proposition canvas, try to find out where your ideal target customers are, the people that are already enjoying your product, the few ones, where are they the most online? Where do you reach out to? Are people trying to find similar products to the product that you have? Because inside product market fit, you have channel market fit, right? Sorry, channel product fit. So I will say that you do your experiment after you've achieved product market fit, or you do the experiment because you want to achieve product market fit. So yeah, so either you do it after or you do it because you want to achieve product market fit. Because usually organizations are not trying to achieve product market fit when they already have 2 million customers. What? You already have 2 million customers. You can't be saying you're trying to achieve product market fit. Where did you get all the 2 million customers from in the first place? So any other thing you want to do afterwards is just to run experiments on optimization around activation, revenue, retention, referral, so things like that. But if you're still, and the reason why it's recommended that you have to run experiments after product market fit is that experiments only make sense when you have a lot of data, right? Because how do you judge that one thing is working and another thing is not working when you have only 50 customers? How will you judge that? You have only 50 customers. It's not going to make any sense, right? You have only 50 customers. So experiment will make sense when you have the numbers that can justify that, oh, this is why this is working, or this is why this is not working. While we are running experiments at G.R.O.W.S, we already had, when I joined, we already had over 100,000 users. That's a lot already. Then after a while, 200,000 users. So we had a lot of data that we could use compared to somebody that just has 100 users. What you need to sit down is to sit down with those users. Know the ones that are your users, yank off the ones that are not your users, get more people that looks like your raving fans until you achieve product market fit.
Awesome. So we have a follow-up question. So it's saying, also when asking questions, especially to teammates, and they don't fit your user persona, are their responses still valid? So let's say you have a startup, you have people that are working for you, but you know the set of people that are working for you don't ideally fit into your user persona, right? But you're asking questions in the team to say, how do we make progress on this? Do you still take their questions, their responses to be valid?
Yeah, so when you are doing product market surveys, because there's product market product market survey, which you just send to people, and then you have product market interviews when you are calling people. Anything that relates to your direct users, you speak to them. Anything that relates to the internal operation of whatever you want to achieve, you have to speak to the team. And of course, it's valid. I'll give you an example. I talk about bug fixes. In fact, the person that should know about bug fixes is not the engineer. The engineer should know about bug fixes more than me. And I'm talking about activation. And I'm losing 90 out of 100 people that are supposed to be activated. What is going on? He's going to be the one to implement it. So he should have even a more, what's it called? A more valid explanation as to what is happening, even more than me. I hope that gives some context. Or you are speaking to a UI UX person, because it's about the work. It's not about the persona that is coming in. If you're talking about product market fit, that should be outside. If you're talking about your own teammates, it's about the work or the product, internal product. If you think that part of your conversation with your teammates will be that they should understand your persona, then explain the personas to them. If that's what you mean, like maybe the tech guy, the engineer is just thinking like a coder. He's not even thinking about the, with respect to the PICE framework, you can't talk to customers about your PICE framework now. Rather, you will have talked to customers in your product market fit or any other survey you are doing with them, and use that to feed, to get ideas, right? Okay. Use that to get ideas that you are going to, so with respect to the PICE framework, if you have already spoken to your users before, your users should give you ideas. Remember when I talk about gathering ideas, that gathering ideas comes from the studying of your data. But part of your data is the qualitative data that you are getting when you have spoken to your customer. Oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? Oh, wow. Then you write 3 ideas. You spoke to another customer, write 3 ideas because the customers are giving you ideas. Where the talking to your teammates comes in is how they can rank the ideas, because they will be the ones to rank the ideas.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Oba. I think we're pretty much out of time. We have 3 more minutes left. So it's definitely been an awesome one. Looking forward to the next month's session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Next month, we're going to be talking about performance marketing. So Facebook ads, Google ads, all the social media ads. That's what we're going to be discussing next month. The date is going to be communicated very soon, so that you can give us like ample time to also be able to prepare, and just the speaker also gets time to be able to prepare for the next month session. So it is at this point. The survey, yeah. So, I mean, I don't exactly know what is wrong with the poll is not coming up again. Yeah, I mean, this is the first time. We just keep learning from all of these things. Experiment until you get it. Okay, yeah, I think I got it now. Competency. I mean, okay, yeah. I'm trying to read now. Okay, yeah, so please, I would really appreciate if you can like go over this in 2-3 minutes. Let's guess what the competency level has been. Have you learned anything? What would you like us to talk about in the future classes? It would be great for us to be able to get this. Thank you, Sonia. So please, let's all engage. Let's all engage with the poll, and this just gives us like a basic idea of how to create topics, and also how to further align what everyone has learned. So just 2 out of 13, it would be great to at least have half of this. It would be great to have at least 7 of us fill this. So yeah, we have the third person. Ooh.
Let's have like 8.
We have 4 now. I mean, if we can get those numbers in, I would really appreciate it. 5. So three more volunteers. 3 more volunteers. 6. Thank you. We have a 7. Awesome. Awesome. We have a 9 now. All right.
Someone is asking where can we take the poll? The poll is on the screen.
Poll is on the screen. The poll is on the screen.
I will share the links to the sheets with
Oh yeah,
Danny.
yeah. I think I'm going to send an email sometime today or tomorrow with the presentation and also links to this. Also, once I upload it on the YouTube channel, I would share it with everyone to be able to go and watch it again. All right. Thank you so much, guys. So, okay, Wisdom, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. I don't know if can you hear me?
Absolutely, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Robert. Good evening, Oba. Like this session has been so insightful. I really appreciate your time for breaking a lot of this down. So for me, basically, is I really don't have a question, but I want to just say if you can give direct us to place where we can find resource to have more ideas around what we spoke about tonight.
Okay. I will share again resources with Danny, but this particular framework, if you go to Growth Tribe or Google Growth Tribe, they are the owners of this particular framework, and it's becoming common and popular. Yeah, they taught it so well. The sheets that I'm also sharing is from Growth Tribe. I'm not the one that puts it together. They are in the Netherlands, so all those things they are the ones that actually put it together, and I've been using it for like 5 years. So yeah, Growth Tribe they do a great work.
Oh, okay.
But,
You said Google Growth Tribe, right?
Growth Tribe, yeah.
Growth Tribe, yes. Growth Tribe.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the link, growthtribe.io. Thank you so much, everyone. We see you again next month. Yeah, performance marketing is what we're talking about next month. How to run Google Ads, Facebook, all of those. You can just decide to pick one channel though, because I know that takes like a lot of time. We can take one channel and we discuss it because I know that's one of the biggest challenges that people have had around marketing out there on effective ad. I know it's not just running for impression and reach and link clicks. I think there are strategies to all of these things. So that will be discussed next month. So thank you so much for your time. This has been a very insightful, almost 2.5 hours or 2 hours thereabouts. Thank you for joining, and I will see you in camp next month.